The seagull was afraid of flying. Yes. And what were the fears in the little seagull's mind? Why was it afraid to fly? Yes, Dhruv? Why was it afraid to fly? It did try, but yeah, I thought it would fall down, thought its wings were very small, and was afraid of that the big, vast sea which was there, right? And where was the seagull sitting? You would drown to death. Shantanu has gone one step ahead. Oh God, right? He's going to fall from such a height and fall into the sea. Okay. Is it right? Yes, it was on the cliff and was quite afraid of flying. And what were the feelings that were going through the little bird's mind, the seagull's mind? What were his siblings doing, the brothers and sisters? They had started flying, they had begun flying, so the parents were very proud of them. And yeah, so like the father was there preening his feathers, and the other siblings, they were sitting across on the opposite side. And yeah, so they were just flying and skimming here and there, right? And the mother, she was looking at this little bird, and the, the seagull was hungry and had been ignored for a long time. That had almost been 24 hours. And now with the sun, you can see beating down, the day becoming hotter, and the little bird was feeling hungry also. Yes. So right was there looking at his mother. What was she doing? What was she doing? She was staring the fish, and the little bird wanted to eat. Yes. So what did the little bird do? Did the little bird start flying or not? Yes. What did the little bird do? When she saw, or when he saw, yes, that his mother was there coming towards him with the fish, and immediately just jumped off, and without being aware of it, the little bird began to fly. So yes, he was hungry, jumped to take the food, and he started flying. And yes, so as he started flying, what did his brothers and sisters do? They all came near him and they were encouraging him. So they were soaring higher, and as just spread out his wing, he could feel the wind under his wing, and he was just going higher and higher. And he just loved that feeling. And of course, it was just one little thing that he had to do. That was just to take that first jump, to take that first plunge, and to overcome the fear that was in its little mind. Yes, and of course, the parents also, they're very encouraging, and all of them. And see how different their behavior was earlier. They were all ignoring the little bird. They were not being nice to the little bird. And yes, so the father completely ignoring, and the mother, they're just sitting over there, and both thing had been hungry for almost a day. Yes, so let's see what happened in the end, and yeah, what were the thoughts in the mind of the seagull, and how happy it was as it flew over the green, vast expanse of sea it was afraid of earlier. Right? So he's calling out to his mother, wanted that fish, but mother there, of course, just looking at him. And when he sees that fish there, and he wants to just eat it, and he just jumps towards it. Yes. So in that minute, he was able to overcome his fear and was able to yes. Let's just continue from where we finished that day. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly, and commended himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. So he was there, like, of course, did not even feel it's the first time I'm flying, and he's just completely forgotten that, yeah, a day ago he was completely afraid to fly, didn't want to fly, and he had this spend the whole day in great agony, and being ignored by his parents and his siblings also. And now just look at him, he's so brave and confident, and he's there going higher and higher. He was near the sea now, flying straight over it, facing straight over the ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him with little ridges moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusingly. And yeah, so he's making that cawing sound, and was making that cawing sound, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusingly. His parents and his brother and sister had landed on this green flooring ahead of him. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings. But he was tired and weak with hunger, and he could not rise. So his parents, like, yeah, he's looking at this green sea now, and the brothers and sisters, they've landed on the green flooring, and they were also beckoning him. What was the green flooring here? The sea. So he dropped his leg to stand on the green sea. He's a little scared again. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again. He wanted to, like, of course, rise again to fly away from this green sea. I was scared, but he was too exhausted because he was hungry. He was tired and weak with hunger, and he could not rise, exhausted by the strange exercise. His feet sank into the green sea, and then his belly touched it, and he sank no further. He's floating, right? So his feet did go a little further down into the water, but his belly was there touching that water, and then he started floating on it. He was floating on it, and around him, his family was screaming, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scraps of dogfish. He had made his first flight. So within minutes, he just overcome his fear, and right, so he just had to spread his wings. And is there a Prachi in this class? Wait, let me just check the list. So within minutes, he was able to overcome his fear, and his brothers and sisters, his parents, all supporting him. He's flying over the sea, and he was afraid of falling into the sea, right? And when he came and sat on it, his sisters and brothers, they were already sitting on it. He was afraid. He didn't have that energy. He wanted to fly back again, but because he was so tired, exhausted, and hungry, he just sat down. And yes, his legs, the feet went inside the water. Then his belly touched the surface of the water, and he did not sink any further. And he was just floating, and his family was all around him. And yeah, they were all giving him food because they knew that the little bird was hungry. He had made his first flight. So a very sweet little story. Yes, and sometimes we do feel parents are very harsh with us, they're very strict with us, but it is, in the long run, it is for our benefit only. They do it so that we overcome our fear. And yes, so if a bird will not learn to fly, then how is the bird going to survive in this world? Right? So just like your parents, they were always there supporting and encouraging when you had to learn to walk. So you fell down, but yeah, they held you up and right, encourage you to walk a few more steps, to practice a few more steps. And look at you now. You're out of reach, aren't you? Yes. Okay. So we have two parts. We'll discuss the next part also, and then we'll start off with then we'll do the question answers together. Okay. Any problem, anyone? No. So the first part, it was about the birds. And second, it's about aeroplanes. And yes, we have all been fascinated, I think so, by aeroplanes, and whether it's about flying in the aeroplane or wanting to fly an aeroplane. So that element of excitement, that element of mystery is always there. We're just amazed, great admiration we have for all the pilots who they, like fly these planes, ferrying not only passengers, but goods and things, right? So we have a lot of great respect for them, and we really admire their bravery because, yeah, it's so scary also. And if you have flown in a plane, there are times when it becomes very scary. So when it takes off, and at times there's that disturbance, there's these turbulences, then we feel that, oh my God, I'm gone. What am I going to do now here in the middle of nowhere? So yes, there are scary moments, okay? Now here, this is a mystery. The second story, like the first one, it was a very sweet experience about learning to fly, about overcoming fears, right? So here, this story, it is a little bit of mystery, which we are going to solve together, right? So the black aeroplane. What is the mystery of the black aeroplane? So when we read this part, we're going to find out what is the mystery about it, right? And like when you watch the news, and we do come across, the most biggest tragedy is that when we read about a plane crashing, right? Or like unable to land properly, or there was some problem in the engine, or it caught fire or something, like went missing, or it got hijacked. So all these problems, all these things that we listen to, it really creates a fear in our mind. And that is why, like we have an even more, you can say, that element of fear, that, oh my God, it's so scary to fly in a plane. You never know what is going to happen. Now, when these pilots are in such difficult situations, yeah, so when they are there in such difficult situations, maybe in the middle of the storm, yeah, so they have to rise high above the clouds, and or when they do come across certain problems, right? Maybe they're not able to connect with the traffic control or the ground control. There is some mishap that has happened, or an accident that has happened. So how is it that they maintain their peace and calm, and how do they react or respond in such a situation? Yes, so you have, right, it is very different from what you watch in the movies, like, yeah, they are superheroes, they can do anything, but in reality, it is the heroes that we have to look for in our real life, not able to respond to such a challenging situation. That how are they going to respond if then one of the engine has caught fire, or there's a passenger who's not well, or there's a case of hijacking, like there's someone threatening you on board. How are you going to behave in such a situation, right? Or it could be the biggest problem, like, of course, when we talk about pilots here, before takeoff, they see that everything is in order, right? The plane that they're going to fly, it's all in order, everything there. They talk about look at the fuel also, cross check everything. So all this maintenance, everything is done. But what if, because of a little excitement or a little bit of carelessness, and you feel that, okay, I'm not going to fly very far, I'm just going here and I'll be reaching there without any problems, but a problem does happen. How are you going to respond in such a situation? So this second story, it is that mystery element, it is that element that we are going to find out. So what is this black aeroplane? Okay. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and the stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone, high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. So where's the narrator going? He's going back to England. Where was he flying from? He's flying from France. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris control soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. So it's not very, far, right? And yes, as he took off on his plane and he's thinking about calling Paris, that he's leaving that place and he's on his way to England. I should call Paris control soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front. I switched on the radio and said, Paris control, Dakota DS088 here. Can you hear me? I'm on my way to England, over. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now, DS088, over. So we've heard these kind of conversations on television and movies, right? So yes, the pilot communicating with the traffic control, right? So of course with the ground control there. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank. 2 tanks, and he's now onto the last one. Turn the Dakota. Dakota is the aeroplane, the make of that aeroplane, 12 degrees west towards England, as he has been instructed by the radio control, right? Okay, he's been instructed by the control room. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. So he's saying, okay, it's 1:30 and yeah, I'll be home by breakfast. And then I'm going to have a hearty breakfast, a good English breakfast. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. So he's left Paris behind. And then what happened? He saw the clouds, storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. Black clouds, looking like black mountains. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. He's in a big situation here because he's on his second fuel tank. He does not have so much of fuel that he could fly up and over them. He could not fly around them. So the only choice that he had is either he return back to Paris or he fly through the clouds. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. So there's a choice for him. He can turn around, go back to Paris, just 150 kilometers away, and he can reach there within no time. Why take that risk? I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. So he said, I'll take that risk. So let me see. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. Why? Because of the storm outside, so the turbulence there, it's what shaking the plane, the jerks over there. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I could not believe what? I could not believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. Paris control, can you hear me? So he's in a big problem. There are these big storm clouds, dark clouds as big as mountains right in front of him. He thought of turning around, going back to Paris, but then he thought, I'll take the risk. And as he's looking at the compass, which a couple of minutes ago was absolutely fine, right? Because he had looked at it to turn towards the west as he had been instructed by the Paris control room. Now, what is happening to the compass? It's just going round and round and it's dead. The other instruments were dead, nothing there on the panel, the control panel, which is there. He tried the radio, he's trying to call the control room. No, the radio is also dead. He's there in the middle of this storm and nobody to help him. Is it a nice situation or is it a scary situation? It's a very scary situation. And of course, yeah, even the strongest people would panic. There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. So there was another aeroplane flying by. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turn towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. So he looked, like what? Surprise in that storm, in the middle of that very difficult situation, right? Those dark clouds all around him. And what did he see? He saw another aeroplane, right? Yes, he saw another aeroplane. There were no lights on its wings, but he could see it flying next to him. He could see the pilot's face. And what was the pilot telling him? The pilot was waving that, yeah, come and follow me, right? Follow me, he was saying, follow me. He knows that I am lost, I thought. He's trying to help me. So he says, okay, like, look at him. He knows I'm lost. He knows I don't know what to do. So he's helping me. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child because he's in such a difficult situation. He does not know what to do right now. And so that aeroplane has come out of nowhere and is offering to help him. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. The aeroplane there in front of him, guiding him through the clouds. Now, wait. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again. How long is this going to go? The fuel is also going to finish. But then he started to go down and I followed the storm. So the plane started going down. That means, yeah, I was about to land. Suddenly, I came out of the clouds and saw two long straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane that he's also landing along with me. He's found the airport, there's the runway, there are lights, he's safe, he survived. But to his surprise, he could not see the aeroplane. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. So we went to the control room and he is asking her that, can you tell me who the other pilot was? At least I'll say thank you to that person. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. Another aeroplane up there in the storm? No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio, without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? Yes,